So this patient had a device made in San Diego by a great practitioner who was really onto it. And that's how the patient presents. And I'm already thinking, well, I know this. That guy is going to be a protrusive clincher because he's got a lot of force generated already on those incisors. There's no place else to go but forward. I'll bet you that's what that guy does. So this device was made for him, and that little extension was made so he couldn't retrude. He thought there must be an airway problem going on. And the patient would bite on that platform. They bite right here into this platform. So I asked the patient, okay, make your chin go as far forward as you can. So that's what he could do. I put that device back in. He went right out in front of it, way out there. The practitioner didn't think he could do it, didn't even look for it, but I have to assume the weirdest things that you could possibly do. So there's a pencil line right there. That's to show me where my new acrylic starts from. So I put a pencil line on the original device. I can add clear, see where I was. So I'm now making this little platform out here. And so now when he protrudes, he still has his incisal contact. That seems like a lot of vertical opening to me. And I would have been willing to hack into this thing completely, but it was somebody else's device that kind of gave me the creeps. You do not want to mess with other people's real estate like that. I'll add to it. I put the pencil line there so I know where I can take it off. If he protruded and squeezed, I went, that hurts. I said, look, right now I need to considerably shave this thing down and ramp this kind of thing up, but I don't want to do that. Fortunately, I didn't have that problem. That is from 1989. That is a Boyd discluder. So in San Diego, I was making that for me and lots and lots of patients. So when I was third year dental school, my roommate and I drove down to San Diego from Los Angeles. We went to USC to watch a Terry Tanaka lecture. And the thing I remembered, and it hit me, I was 3 years into practice when I remember him saying, when the patient is in acute muscular distress and you've got a full coverage splint, put an anterior midline point stop on your splint. Now, Dr. Tanaka is affiliated for USC, so it's a maxillary splint. An anterior midline point stop on the maxillary splint. Get your patient out of pain. And a few days later, take the bump off. So I was a miserable human being. I had a headache every day for 12 years in a row. I woke up with a headache. I went to bed with a headache. I took 13 Excedrin a day. It started when I was a sophomore in high school and I was 2 years out of dental school. So I was miserable, and I was a TMD resident at USC and learned all about trigger point injections, all that kind of stuff. Nothing helped me. I was down to wearing my splint 1 day in, 2 days out, 3 days in, 1 day out. I had to play catch up, cat and mouse with myself. So okay, that does it. I put an anterior midline point stop on my maxillary splint. For 3 or 4 nights, it was just awesome. I couldn't believe it. And then, so I made that. Worked great. Shortly thereafter, I started getting symptomatic again. Darn it. I got way more than the time allotted, but now I'm hurting again. I found out I was sitting there grinding on something in my office, and I was like, had this weird face. Like I was doing a Bruce Springsteen concert. What am I doing? I had my little discluder. Oh yeah, I bit right in front of it. I don't bite like this anymore. I bite like this because that's what I need to do to mess with myself. So I needed to make that discluding element come out this way because I'm going to protrude. I thought, all these patients, I couldn't figure it out. They were having a stiff sore neck. Oh no. That's how the NTI design started to grow, because my insight to parafunction truly was insight because I was experiencing and I started monkeying around with my own devices. Dr. Tanaka has this slide that he shows, and he's been doing it for years now, but he'll say, anterior bite plane splints, but here he shows a Pankey device. If the patient continues to clench on an anterior bite plane or this bite stuff, the biting forces will be directed into the disc, causing injury. It's just not true. Here he's showing that's a force vector. These are force vectors. That's a force vector. This is to imply that the intensity of this muscle contraction is at near maximal, and here's minimal. And it just doesn't work that way. So I've been really disappointed in the lack of continuity in dentistry and the information that we're all using and sharing. I'm kind of like hung out to dry, because what happened to me was these NTI devices, my father-in-law got a hold of them and looked at them. And they had turned into what we see as the taco shell today and a bump on it. I was taking models of everybody's teeth, doing a 0.06 suck down over the anterior segment of the maxillary arch, taking some cold cure acrylic in the damp joints, putting on that hot plastic, it would harden, scoping into this discluding element that had a little bit of an anterior projection past the incisors. And I would cut it out at mesial of the canine to mesial of the canine. They all looked real similar, because the arch form doesn't change a lot from mesial canine to mesial canine. My father-in-law, who happened to be a tool and die maker in Michigan, looked at it and goes, all of those look like tacos with bumps on them. Every one. I said, no, they're custom, they're all unique, they're all great. Look like tacos to me. Why don't you make a generic taco shell with a bump on it? I'll make it, then give it to me. I'll invest it, I'll make a tool. We've got some Lexan that we use here in our facility, and I'll make you some generics, then you can retrofit and customize them per patient. You can do that? Yeah, I'm your father-in-law, you can pay me back. Oh, great, okay. So that's what he did. I happen to have some snap acrylic in my office, which coincidentally bonded perfectly to this Lexan, as long as you don't use too much liquid monomer. Use too much liquid monomer, whole thing shatters. Anyway, it did the same thing. I got the same results. It was great. I didn't have to do any suck downs and models, stuff like that. A patient of mine was the secretary of the president of Kulzer Dental Supply at the time. She did great on the device. Kulzer licensed the patents and starts selling these devices to dentists. I now became a manufacturer. The FDA regulates medical devices. Manufacturers are cleared for marketing claims. No, everybody here can say, I cure migraine. You can put it in an ad. The FDA didn't care. When you make custom device, they don't care. You're not selling a manufactured product from a manufacturer. I'm now a manufacturer, and the FDA says, you can't say it does these things unless you show us the data that it does. So we are going to regulate you, and if anyone complains, we need to hear about it. So here I am now, when there's a complaint about an NTI, it's a manufactured thing. FDA cleared. It's not like anyone can just make some and call it something. So here's what's really crazy. So he's not looking for, well, what if this patient moves excursively and the canine gets here on the deprogrammer? Could a patient move forward, protrude? Doesn't consider that, but what's really strange is it's just a matter of time before the legal profession finds out about this, and then we're in big trouble. So now I'm committing a crime by doing this kind of thing. It's been a long time now, maybe 15 years, and so here's a study that we did because I'm concerned about those kind of claims that are out there. This was presented in France several years ago now. Of 90,000 NTI devices provided and observed, 1.6% there was a claimed undesired clinical change in the occluding scheme. Doesn't sound like very much. How many flat plane, cuspid rise, custom-made splints were made in the last month in the United States? 100,000, a couple 100,000? Maybe 1 or 2% they had problems. What manufacturer is responsible? Nobody. These are all individually made. There isn't any requirement for any logging of any complaint. But 1.6% of 90,000 devices, there's 1,400 complaints. So now, where do these people go to? They go to the TMJ specialist. Something weird happened, and oh, these things are awful. No one cares about the other 98% of successes, because this is a manufactured product by a company with FDA clearance, and so there's a little bit of weirdness about this because it's now public as opposed to the splints that we all make and no one ever hears about.